The notification from my banking app took me by surprise. I froze in the middle of the office, holding a cup of coffee in my hand, which had already cooled down. The amount that took my breath away was displayed on the phone screen. $50,000 disappeared. The family reunion fund that I had been saving up for the last 2 years was completely emptied. My name is Marin, I am 33, and I have spent most of my adult life in the role of responsible. The one who provides for the family, who always keeps everything under control. While my younger sister Alana easily sailed through life, I built a successful business from scratch and became a kind of financial safety cushion for the family. Is everything all right? Morgan appeared in the doorway. His habitual smile immediately disappeared when he saw the expression on my face. It's like you've seen a ghost. The money is gone, I whispered. Every last cent. Morgan entered the office, closing the door firmly behind him. He was visibly nervous, avoiding eye contact with me. Listen, Marin, there's something you should know. It was at this moment that my world began to crumble. Alana is getting married this weekend, he blurted out, as if he was afraid that if he spoke slower, it would only hurt me more. In the mountain at Jew Resort. They call it a family reunion, but... He stopped, watching my reaction carefully. I sank into a chair, and the pieces of the puzzle began to take shape in my head. It's impossible. She would have told me. Are you sure? Morgan raised an eyebrow. Look, I only know this because my cousin works at this hotel. She mentioned the wedding of a certain Roberts family, and when I found out the details, he shook his head. I just couldn't help but tell you. My hands started shaking when I opened my sister's Instagram. And here they are, hints that I missed. Posts about wedding preparations, disguised as a regular publication about life. Comments from our mutual friends, full of excitement about the upcoming weekend. I immediately dialed my mother's number, my heart was pounding. Hi honey, Reagan replied, her voice deliberately cheerful. Is everything all right? Mom, is there something going on this weekend that I should know about? Pause. Too long. Just a family reunion, honey. You said you couldn't come. Work. I didn't say that. Moreover, I didn't even get an invitation. Oh yes, I tried to speak evenly. Family reunion at Mountain View Resort. That's right. Another pause. Listen, honey, I'm busy right now. Is Alana getting married? There was a deafening silence on the other end of the line. Who told you? Finally she asked. Her voice became harsh. It was supposed to be a surprise. I laughed. Dull, bitter. A surprise. Mom, this surprise is paid for with my money. The Pony 9 Family Reunion Fund, that's what paid for this wedding, right? Marin, don't be dramatic. You always exaggerate so much when it comes to money. I dropped the call. Morgan was still standing there, watching me anxiously. What are you going to do? I opened my contact list and found Aunt Maeve's number. If anyone could tell me the truth, it was her. The phone was picked up after the second ring. I've been waiting for you to call, she said softly. Did you know? Yes. At least honesty. I wanted to tell you, but Alana insisted that it would only cause problems. She thought that you would interfere, try to bend everything under you, make it become your story. Make it about me. I jumped to my feet and began pacing the office. It's my money, Aunt Maeve. $50,000 that I was saving for our family reunion. The money I've been earning so far. Alan. I stopped abruptly, trying to pull myself together. The wedding is 3 days away, Maeve said. What are you going to do? I looked out the window at the bustle of the city below. I've played by the rules all my life. She was a good daughter, a supportive sister, a family ATM. And here is my reward. I was deliberately excluded from my sister's wedding and paid for it at my expense. I'm going to this wedding, I said calmly, and I'm going to make sure that everyone knows who made it happen at all. Marin. Her aunt's voice was a warning. No, Aunt Maeve. It's time for them to understand that actions have consequences. I ended the call and turned to Morgan. I need your help. He grinned, A spark of excitement flashed in his eyes. I thought you wouldn't ask. What's the plan? I grabbed my bag and my car keys. To begin with, shopping. I need the perfect outfit for a wedding I wasn't invited to. When we left the office, the phone vibrated from an incoming message. Alana, Mom said you know. Please don't ruin this day for me. Let me be happy for once. I grinned as I put my phone in my pocket, not even bothering to answer. Oh sis, you have no idea what awaits you. Mountain View Resort fully justified its name. Huge panoramic windows opened a breathtaking view of the majestic mountain peaks. I adjusted my emerald green dress, carefully chosen to emphasize, but not copy, Lana's wedding colors, and confidently entered the hall, as if I was here by right. Your name? The coordinator asked cheerfully, running her finger through the guest list on the tablet. I'm from a family, I smiled sweetly. The bride's sister. Her eyes widened slightly. You're not on the list. There must be a mistake. I'm Marin, by the way. I'm also a bridesmaid. She looked at the tablet again. The bridesmaid is recorded as. Any problems? The mother's voice cut sharply into the conversation. The coordinator immediately froze when she saw her. Mom's face turned pale, as if all the blood had drained away into her legs. Marin, what are you doing here? I turned to her, looking straight into her eyes. I support my sister, an important day for her. Isn't that what family is for? Mom grabbed my hand and abruptly pulled me aside. You have to leave now. You're going to ruin everything. Ruin it. I raised an eyebrow. What is it, Mom? Your trust. Or just my bank account. There you are. Alana's voice rang out across the hall. I turned around and saw her. In a white lace dress, like a princess from a fairy tale. Her beaming smile faded for a moment when she saw me. Marin. You came. I wouldn't miss it for anything, sis. I freed myself from Mom's grip and humbled Alana with a look. Beautiful dress. I wonder how much of my money went into it. Alana blushed. We need to talk. In private. She took me into a small preparation room and closed the door tightly. As soon as we were alone, her sweet mask collapsed. You're deliberately trying to ruin my wedding, aren't you? She hissed. As always, you ruin everything you touch. Damage. With what? By paying for all of this. Alana was rushing around the room, and her dress was spreading across the floor in waves. You constantly use your money as a weapon, making us feel helpless, dependent. I snorted. Are you serious now? Is that me? A villain? You stole $50,000 from me. You and Mom conspired to exclude me from the wedding, but for some reason you needed my money. We didn't steal, she snapped. Us. Occupied. We were going to bring them back. When? I took a step forward. And with what money? The ones you don't have. Or those that you can't earn because you don't stay at any job. The door opened and he entered the room. Eric. My ex, and now, it seems, Alana's confidant. Is everything all right? He asked, examining us. I heard you talking in raised tones. Everything is fine, Lana hastily replied. Marina is already leaving. Actually, I think I'll stay. I headed for the exit. I don't want to miss the speeches. I have a couple of interesting stories about a happy couple. Eric grabbed my arm. Don't do this, Marin. You'll regret it. I jerked my hand away. Regret it? How will I regret meeting you? Or that she trusted her family? As I was leaving the room, I heard Alana whisper to Eric. She must not find out about another case. Promise me you won't tell her about Dad's involvement. I froze. Dad? Our father died 5 years ago. What could he have had to do with it? Stepping out into the crowd of guests, I headed to the bar where Morgan was standing. He looked unusually elegant in a dark gray suit, but there was the same recklessness in his eyes. You won't believe what I just heard, he muttered, handing me a glass of champagne. What? Your sister's fiancé, Caden. He's sure your parents paid for the wedding. He has no idea about the real state of affairs. I took a long sip, shifting my gaze to Caden. An ordinary, but attractive guy. He smiled at the guests, looked genuinely joyful and kind. Poor thing, I muttered. He doesn't know what he's gotten himself into. And what are you going to do? Morgan asked. I didn't have time to answer, because Aunt Maeve appeared next to me. Marin, darling, please. Think carefully before you do anything. Her voice was low but insistent. Some things, when they are voiced, can no longer be taken back. They should have thought of that before they started lying to me. I finished the champagne and put the glass on the counter. By the way, I just heard something interesting. It turns out that the father was somehow involved in this. Aunt's face turned white. Where did you hear that? So it's true. I stared at her intently. What are you hiding from me, Aunt Maeve? She opened her mouth as if about to say something, but then the voice of the wedding coordinator swept through the hall. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The ceremony is about to begin. We'll talk later, Maeve promised, and hurriedly left. I watched her walk away and then turned to Morgan. Find out everything you can about how the father is connected with all this. I have a feeling that this is just the tip of the iceberg. The guests gradually flocked to the hall for the ceremony, and I took a seat in the last row. Let them think I'm resigned. Let them make sure that everything goes according to plan. But the real show will only begin at the banquet. I sat and watched my sister float down the aisle, leaning on my mother's hand. The personification of the ideal bride. The perfect picture. Every step, every detail around. All of this was paid for with my money. I squeezed the ceremony program so hard that the paper broke. After exchanging vows, the guests dispersed for the cocktail part. I walked around the hall, listening to the conversations. What generosity from the Roberts family. They tried so hard for their youngest daughter. If only they knew. Marin. I turned around and saw Caden. He was holding a glass of champagne and smiling. I didn't know you were coming. Alana said you're too busy at work. I smiled, but there was no warmth in my eyes. Really? How interesting stories twist. By the way, congratulations. The ceremony was beautiful. Thank you. He laughed. Your parents really outdid themselves. I offered to help with the expenses, but they flatly refused. They said they wanted to take over everything. I took a sip of champagne and looked at him over the top of the glass. What generosity on their part. I drawled, dripping poison into every word. Tell me, Caden, did my sister mention anything about her financial situation? Or perhaps about our family? He frowned. In what way? Before I could answer, Mom cut in between us. Caden, dear. Your parents are looking for you. She almost pushed him away and then turned to me. Stop it. What is it, Mom? Talk. Exist. You know exactly what I mean. She grabbed my elbow and pulled me away from the guests. Why can't you just be happy for your sister? I jerked my hand away. Rejoice. Do you want me to be happy about the theft? It wasn't a theft, it was. Mom lowered her voice. It was what your father would have wanted. I whirled on her. What? What does Dad have to do with it? Her face closed up, as if she realized that she had said too much. Never mind, forget I said that. No, Mom, that won't do. I blocked her way. First Alana and Eric, and now you. What are you hiding from me about Dad? There you are. Aunt Maeve's voice cut through the tension. Reagan. The photographer is waiting for you for family shots. Mom immediately ran away without even looking back. My aunt looked into my eyes with concern. Be careful, Marin. You're pulling a string that could ruin everything. Okay, I snapped. Let it fall apart. I'm tired of being the only one holding everything on my shoulders. Morgan appeared beside her, a little out of breath. You have to hear this, he pulled me aside. I talked to some elderly guests, and it turned out that your father had a secret insurance policy. It was paid only under certain conditions. Which ones? I'm still figuring it out. But the amount of the policy was exactly $50,000. I felt dizzy. Exactly the same amount as was in my family reunion fund. Exactly, Morgan nodded and looked around. And now guess who was his beneficiary? Alan. I whispered. Bingo. The puzzle began to take shape, but the picture he was drawing didn't make any sense. Why did the father make a secret policy in the name of Alana? Why did his amount match the money stolen from me? I noticed Eric standing by the terrace. He was watching us, but as soon as our eyes met, he abruptly turned away and left. I followed him. Tell me, I demanded, pinning him to the wall outside. What do you know about your father's insurance policy? Eric lit a cigarette, his hands trembling slightly. I shouldn't be telling you this. You owe me, Eric. After all that had happened, he took a deep drag. Your father. He made a lot of mistakes, Marin. Bad investments and debts to the wrong people. This policy was supposed to fix everything. But he looked away. But the money wasn't supposed to be paid unless Alana got married before she was 30. I felt the ground slipping away from under my feet. Her. She's 30 in a month. Eric nodded. That's why the wedding was so rushed. I gripped the railing of the terrace, trying to comprehend what I had heard. And my money. They were used to prepare for the wedding. The policy has not been paid yet. He stubbed out his cigarette. Look, I know what it looks like. But they were desperate, your father's debts. There are people who are waiting for this money. I didn't have time to answer. There you are. Caden appeared in the doorway, eyeing us suspiciously. Marin, can I talk to you for a minute? I straightened up, smoothing my dress. Of course. As I followed him back inside, I tried to collect my thoughts. It was no longer just theft, it was a web of lies, debts, and secrets of the father. And the main question is, what will hurt more? Hide the truth or reveal it? Caden took me to a quiet corner of the reception hall. I just talked to one of the contractors, he said, frowning worriedly. He mentioned some problems with payment and a fund for family reunification. I didn't have time to answer anything. Morgan appeared next to him with a tablet in his hands. Sorry to interrupt, but Marin, you need to see this. There was a scan of the insurance document on the screen, my father's signature was at the bottom. And there was a handwritten note next to it. For my little princess, when she needs it most. Where did you get this? I asked. Your Aunt Maeve. She kept it, waiting for the right moment. Caden looked at the tablet. What is it? I exhaled. Really? And at that moment, the DJ announced that it was time to make toasts. And since we're talking about the truth, I turned around and headed for the microphone. Caden grabbed my arm. Marin, what's going on? Ask your new wife. I pulled my hand away and went up on stage. Mom's face would have been enough for a picture. A woman who realized that her world was collapsing. Alana, sitting at the main table, clutched a glass of champagne so hard that I thought the glass was about to crack. I put the microphone to my mouth. For those who don't know me, I began in an even voice, my name is Marin. I'm the bride's sister. I paused and grinned. More precisely, the sister who was not invited. The crowd buzzed, talking in shock. But it doesn't matter, I continued, because I'm still here, as well as my money, which paid for this whole holiday. Marin, don't. Alana jumped up from her seat, but I didn't let her finish. You see, I took a theatrical pause. This beautiful wedding was paid for with $50,000 from my family reunion fund, money that I saved up. Money that was taken without my knowledge and permission. I picked up the tablet Morgan was holding. But the most interesting thing is that this amount exactly matches the secret insurance policy that our father left for Alana. A policy that is paid only if she marries before the age of 30. And her birthday, as luck would have it, is already next month. There was a hum of whispers in the hall. I looked at Caden. It finally dawned on him. His face contorted with realization and horror. So tell me, sis, I turned to Kalani, is this really about love? Or about Dad's money and his mysterious debts? That's enough. Mom rushed to the stage, but Morgan got in her way. No, Mom, not enough. I covered the noise in the hall with my voice. Tell them about your father's debts. About people who are waiting for this insurance payment. Tell me why you needed my money to make this wedding happen now. Alana burst into tears, mascara flowed down her face. You don't understand. They would have taken everything. Who are they? Caden abruptly stood up from the table. Alana, what are you talking about? Creditors. Eric's voice suddenly rang out. He was sitting at his table all this time and was silent. Your father-in-law borrowed money from very dangerous people. The insurance payment is his only chance to cover his debts. There was a dead silence in the hall. Caden stared at Alan as if seeing her for the first time. Did you marry me to pay off your father's debts? No, Alana sobbed. I love you. Simple. So coincidentally, I watched all the carefully constructed lies crumble, but inside I didn't feel satisfied. Emptiness. I raised the microphone to my lips. Ladies and gentlemen, I smiled a little. I apologize for disturbing this celebration of love and deception. Please enjoy the cake. I paused. Which, by the way, I also paid for. As I was coming down from the stage, Aunt Mev grabbed my arm. There's something else, she whispered. This insurance policy. It's not just about money. His father left a letter with him. Something he wanted Alana to know only after the wedding. What's in it? Before she could answer, Alana's heart-rending scream rang out. You ruined everything as always. She lunged at me, but Caden managed to catch her by the waist. The only thing that's ruined is the truth that you tried to hide, I said calmly. I turned to my aunt. And now about the letter. Not here, She looked around nervously. Meet me in 10 minutes, room 412. She hurriedly left. Morgan appeared beside her, grinning. The show turned out to be impressive. It's not over yet. I watched as Caden ran out of the hall, and Alana in a wedding dress rushed after him. Dad left another secret. Mom was left standing alone at the main table, tears streaming down her face. Our eyes met for a moment. And for the first time in all this time, I saw fear in her eyes. What exactly did Father write in that letter? And am I ready to find out the truth about the person we thought we knew? Come on, I told Morgan, it's time to face the past. The elevator to the 4th floor was infinitely slow. Morgan was watching the news on his phone, showing me comments from guests who had already posted their versions of what happened on the social network. Your sister is trending, he chuckled. In a bad way. The door to room 412 opened before we could knock. Aunt Mev let us in, quickly checking the hallway before slamming the door. Reagan is already getting up, and her hands were shaking as she took an envelope out of her bag. We don't have much time. Simple. Give me the letter. I reached for it, but she pulled her hand away. Marina, you need to understand something first. Your father. The door suddenly swung open. My mother was standing on the threshold. Mascara is smeared on the face, breathing is heavy. I've never seen her like this before. Desperate. Don't you dare. She glanced at her aunt. We swore we'd never tell them. Say what? I stepped forward. What's in this letter? Aunt Mev looked at me with pain in her eyes. The truth about your father, she said softly. About who he really was. He was a gambler, I said. We already know that. No, Mom's voice faltered. He was a thief. I froze. He stole from his company, from his partners. But because of gambling, it was just a cover. Morgan stepped between us, blocking my way as I took a step toward my mother. What are you talking about? This insurance policy wasn't really an insurance policy. Aunt Mev finally tore open the envelope and pulled out the letter. But it was hidden money. He knew they would come for them someday, she added quietly. My hands trembled as I took the letter. I immediately recognized my father's handwriting. Dear Alana, if you are reading this, it means that you have fulfilled the conditions that I set. Get married before the age of 30. I'm sorry for the burden I put on you. But I needed to make sure that this money would remain safe until the statute of limitations expired. Now 50,000 are clean. They are completely yours, according to the law. Use them to start over, to escape from the mess I left behind. I chose you because you look like me. Do you realize that sometimes the end justifies the means? Maren looks too much like her mother. She is too straightforward, too principled. Protect her from this truth. She won't understand. With love, Dad. The piece of paper fell out of my hands. He thought I was too honest. I chuckled, but it was an empty, bitter laugh. Is Alanish unprincipled enough? He was trying to protect you, my aunt insisted. Protect me. I looked up sharply. By making me a family ATM. By letting Alana steal from me. It wasn't part of the plan, my aunt intervened. This money was supposed to remain untouched until the wedding. But when the hotel demanded a full prepayment, they panicked. Morgan finished for her. That's why we used your money as a temporary loan. Loud footsteps in the corridor made us freeze. Alana burst into the room. Her wedding dress was crumpled, her face smeared with smeared mascara. Caden's gone, she sobbed. He demands the annulment of the marriage. He's doing it right. I looked at her with an icy gaze. It's all your fault. And Alana screamed and rushed at me, but Morgan intercepted her. Couldn't you just let me have something? I took a step closer, even though Morgan was holding her back. Anything at all. I smiled bitterly. You had everything. Dad's favor. Mom's protection. My money. And me. She hissed, breaking down. I had Dad's load. His secrets. His shame. Do you have any idea what it means to wear this on yourself? Girls, that's enough. Mom tried to separate us. I turned to her. No, Mom, you're not going to play peacemaker anymore. I looked her straight in the eye. You knew about your father's crimes, you knew about the stolen money, and all this time, you let me work until I was exhausted. Providing for the family, just to preserve his legacy. I protected you both by letting her steal from me. We were going to bring them back. Alana suddenly lowered her voice. When the insurance money would have been paid. Dad's money. I shook my head. All for the family, right? A sharp knock on the door made everyone freeze. The door opened, and Eric stood on the threshold. The face is serious, tense. The police are downstairs. He exhaled heavily. Someone at the wedding reported fraud. They want to interrogate everyone. Mom sat down on the bed, burying her face in her hands. Alana burst into tears again. Aunt Maeve clutched her father's letter, looking from me to the others in confusion. I straightened up, slowly smoothing out the folds of my dress. Well, I exhaled. Looks like it's time to find out the whole truth. Maren, please, Mom reached out to me. Think about what this will do to our family. I looked at her, then at Alana. Then to the letter that tore our family apart. Our family, Mom. I said softly, but firmly. Our family was built on lies. I took a step toward the door. Maybe it's time to build something new. Everything was quiet in the corridor, except for the heavy footsteps of the approaching officers. We all froze, waiting for the knock that would change everything. The police station was even colder than the hotel. Detective Torres was sitting across from me, flipping through my statement. Let's clarify. She tapped her pen on the pad. Your father created a fictitious insurance policy to launder the stolen money. And your sister and mother used your personal funds to arrange a wedding that was supposed to trigger the payout. That's right. And you have proof. Morgan, who insisted on being my witness, took out a tablet. It's all here. He put copies of bank statements, insurance policy, and his father's letter in front of the detective. It's all here, Morgan said, handing the tablet to the detective. Bank statements, the original insurance document, and a letter from Mr. Roberts explaining the whole scheme. Detective Torres studied the evidence, her face growing darker. This goes far beyond a simple family scam. Here we are talking about money laundering, corporate crimes, and collusion. I looked out the window of the conference room. In the next room, still in her wedding dress, Alana was crying while giving evidence. Mom sat in the lobby, staring dazedly into space, while the officers interviewed the wedding guests. "What now?" I asked. "That's up to you," Detective Torres leaned forward. "Are you going to press charges?" The question hung in the air. Before I could answer, the door opened and Caden entered the room with another officer. "I'm sorry to interrupt," he looked exhausted. "But you should hear it." He sat down next to me, rubbing his face warily. "Alana told me everything. Not only about the wedding and the money, but also about what happened 3 years ago, in your father's company." Detective Torres raised an eyebrow. "Go ahead." "The company didn't just go bankrupt," Caden said quietly. "Your father organized a large-scale theft scheme." He looked up at me. "Fictitious firms, fake accounts, multi-million-dollar frauds, $50,000. It was a drop in the bucket." My mouth went dry. "How do you know that?" He looked down. "Because I'm a forensic accountant," he replied. I blinked, not immediately realizing the meaning of his words. "Is that how we met Lana?" He clenched his fists. "I've been investigating companies related to your father's case, Alan." He faltered. "She got close to me on purpose, wanted to throw me off the scent. I was hit like a train." "So your whole relationship was a lie?" He hesitated. "Not really." His voice was barely audible. "But it's enough that everything is wrong." Detective Torres was already quickly writing down every word. "Mr. Rivera, we're going to need your official feedback." A sudden noise outside the door made us turn around. In the hall, Aunt Mev was arguing fiercely with an officer, waving an envelope. "Let him come in," I said. My aunt came inside, breathing heavily, and handed me an envelope. "There's something else," she said. "The father left it with his lawyer with instructions to hand it over in certain circumstances. It came to me yesterday." I opened the envelope. Inside was a US drive and another letter. "But that wasn't an excuse. It's a confession," Aunt Mev said. "Detailed, and leaves no doubt." She sighed. "He knew he was dying. I learned about Shada from Uruk immediately after the investigation began." I squeezed the note in my fingers. "So it was his insurance, not the money." "Really," Mev replied softly. "He hoped to protect his partners if they didn't betray the family." Detective Torres took the flash drive. "This can solve several old criminal cases." At that moment, my phone vibrated. "Morgan. Turn on the news. Urgent." Someone found the remote control and urgent news flashed on the TV screen in the room. "A large-scale case of financial fraud. Arrests at several addresses." A live broadcast with searches in offices was turned on. I found out about some of the faces. I abruptly sat up straight. "These are my father's former partners. They've been led 4 years," Caden muttered. "Just waiting for proof." Another officer looked in the door. "Detective, you need to get out. Miss Roberts wants to make a full confession." I jumped up. "I want to hear it." In the hall, Mom was sitting with her back perfectly straight, despite smeared makeup. But when she saw me, something broke in her eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. The voice faltered. "I thought I was protecting our family. Dad convinced me that it would be better this way. That the truth will destroy us." I looked at her for a long time before answering. "Mom destroyed us with lies. The truth can still save us." Alana entered the hall, followed by the officers. Her wedding dress now looked like pathetic rags. She looked at me with frightened eyes. "They tell me that charges may be brought against me," she whispered. "Marin, please." I shifted my gaze to Detective Torres. "If I don't file a report on the theft of money, what will happen?" "They will be punished anyway," she replied. "But their cooperation may help in the investigation." I looked at my family. Mom's desperate face, Alana's crumpled wedding dress, Aunt's tired eyes. Then I looked at Morgan, who was by my side until the very end, and at Caden, who chose truth over love. "I'm not filing charges," I finally said. "But I want the whole truth to come out." All of it. Detective Torres nodded. We need your official testimony. Let's go to the station. When the officers started organizing transport, I caught my reflection in the hall mirror. I looked different, stronger, clearer. Free from the burden of family secrets. The truth has destroyed us, but perhaps it is she who can set us free. The next 48 hours passed in a blur. Police interrogations, news, endless cups of bitter coffee at the station. I was sitting in the waiting room, while Mom and Alana were processing documents. Morgan stood firm beside me. Miss Roberts, there was a lawyer standing in front of me with a folder of documents. We have frozen the accounts related to the insurance policy, but managed to return your personal funds. You just need to sign here. I signed it. The TV buzzed overhead, including a new newscast. The investigation of corporate fraud is expanding. 3 other high-ranking officials have been arrested. Turn it off, Aunt Maeve said warily from across the room. She looked exhausted. And it is not surprising, after hours of helping the investigation, to sort out the paper chaos left by his father. The doors opened. Alana entered the hall, accompanied by a lawyer. Her designer wedding dress was gone. Now she was wearing someone else's clothes, too big for her thin figure. Our eyes met, and for the first time in many years, I saw my sister without masks. Can I talk to you? She asked softly. Morgan squeezed my hand, and then moved away, giving us space. Alana sank into the chair next to him. I don't even know where to start, she whispered. She twisted her hands, avoiding looking at me. I've been lying for so long that I'm not sure how to tell the truth anymore. Start with why, I replied. Why did you let your father drag you into this? She swallowed, squeezing her fingers. He made me feel special. I didn't say anything, letting her continue. You've always been perfect. Successful. Independent. She exhaled. And me. I was just beautiful, charming. But Dad. He made me feel smart, important, needed. She looked up at me with eyes full of pain. He made me his accomplice. His own. Trusted. Her voice faltered. When he got sick, he said I was the only one who could protect the family. She smiled bitterly. That you were too honest, too right. That you couldn't have done what needed to be done. I didn't answer. And that's what it led to. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. You know what the worst part is? She sighed hoarsely. Did I really love Caden? I still do. She covered her face with her hands. But I ruined everything. As always. I opened my mouth to say something, but Mom interrupted us. She walked into the room looking smaller than ever. Her lawyer was explaining something to her about the deal with the investigation, but she wasn't listening. She was looking at the TV screen. An old photo of my father is on the screen. Signature under it. The organizer of the scheme. Mom. I called softly. She turned around. Tears were streaming down her face. And I should have told you the truth years ago, she whispered when I first found out what he was doing. She sobbed. Maybe then. I stood up. Then what, Mom? I looked at her coldly. We could have been his accomplices earlier. Maeve sighed. Marin. No. She needs to hear this. I looked straight into my mother's tear-stained eyes. You didn't protect us, Mom. I shook my head. You taught us that love. It's covering up crimes. I gritted my teeth. That family loyalty means giving your own principles. I never wanted to. I know what you wanted, I interrupted. But intentions do not cancel out the consequences. At that moment Eric came in. He looked as rumpled as his suit. They need to talk to me about offshore accounts. He muttered. Then he took out his phone. But first, he handed it to Alana. Caden asked me to give you a message. Alana grabbed the phone. Her eyes skimmed over the text, her lips trembled. The phone fell out of her hands. The cancellation documents are ready. Her voice broke. But he's not filing charges. But he doesn't want to see me anymore. Morgan returned with 2 cups of coffee. The press is outside, he warned. They're already calling it. He handed me the phone. I read the headline. Wedding Gate. The biggest financial scandal of the year. I grinned. Let them call it what they want. I folded my arms across my chest. No more secrets. Detective Torres came over to us. We are ready to take the latest testimony. After that, you are free. She nodded to Mom and Alana. Your lawyers will contact you about the terms of cooperation. The officers led them away. I stood in silence, watching their figures disappear into the corridor. Aunt Maeve touched my elbow. Your father left me something else. She handed me an envelope, frayed at the edges, as if she had carried it with her for a long time. A letter. He wrote it the day before his death. She looked at me carefully. I didn't give it to you before because I wasn't sure if you'd want to read it. I looked at the familiar handwriting on the envelope. Marin, do you want to open it? Morgan asked quietly. I held it in my hands, feeling the weight of all the lies and manipulations that it could contain. Then she calmly went to the nearest trash can and threw it inside. No, I exhaled. I won't let his words rule this family anymore. Aunt Maeve smiled sadly. You really don't look like him. Thank God. I turned to Morgan. Let's get out of here, I need some fresh air. Fresh. We walked to the exit past a crowd of reporters and camera flashes. Suddenly, a voice rang out from behind. Marin, wait. I turned around. Alana caught up with us, her face anxious, confused. What now? She whispered. What will happen to us, to the family? It was the first time I really looked at her. Not a gorgeous bride, not a manipulator. But for a frightened woman who faced reality for the first time. Now. I paused. Now we are learning to be honest. With myself. And with each other. It won't be easy, but it's the only way forward. The doors of the precinct opened, and dozens of cameras blinded us. It was time to face the world, and with the truth. The autumn wind tossed dry leaves under my feet as Morgan helped me load the last box into the car. The for sale sign was still swinging on the lawn in front of the house, but now it had a sold sticker on it. That's all. I slammed the truck door. The rest will be auctioned off next week. The phone vibrated. Alan. Just finished a shift on community service. Can we talk? I hesitated. Morgan noticed. Go ahead. I'll take care of the truck, it's important. I found Alana in a small cafe, where she now worked part-time. There were no more designer items. Simple jeans, a sweater. An electronic bracelet flashed on his ankle under the edge of his pants. Thank you for coming. She pushed a cup of coffee towards me. I wanted you to be the first to know. She smiled. Weakly, but sincerely. I entered the accounting department. I'm starting next semester. I blinked. Seriously. Yes, she smiled nervously. Turns out I'm good at numbers. She sighed. Now you just need to use this talent for good, not for evil. I shook my head. I didn't expect such a turn. Believe me, I am too. She looked into the cup. How is Mom coping with the sale of the house? Better than you might think. The money will be used to pay compensation. She got busy. You visited her. I shook my head. No. She's asking about you. She says that she has finally started going to a therapist. Dealing with what Dad did to us. I didn't say anything. A bell tinkled above the cafe door. I turned around. Aunt Maeve came in, holding a box. I found this while I was sorting things out in the house, she said, putting the box on the table. I think you should take a look. I opened it. Photos. Hundreds of photos. Our family. Before the lie. Before my father's schemes. Birthdays, school plays, family trips. Look at this one. Alana took out a picture. We were kids on it. Dirty from head to toe after the rain. Do you remember how Mom screamed because of the carpet? And I grinned. And as Dad said, dirty kids are good luck. Despite everything, I smiled. Aunt Maeve said softly, he was not only a bad person. I shifted my gaze to her. The man in these photos, he was also real. I nodded. But the good does not cancel out the bad. But my voice wasn't so hard anymore. No, Alana said softly. But maybe understanding both sides will help us heal. The phone in my hand vibrated. Detective Torres. The final papers are ready. Your testimony helped convict 3 more. Thanks. I shifted my gaze to Alona. The detective said they found almost all of the father's hidden assets. And they will be sent to the Victims' Compensation Fund. I heard, Alana nodded. She swallowed. The Cadena firm is engaged in the distribution of funds. She took a deep breath. Him. He's still not talking to me, she looked away. But at least it helps to fix everything that is possible. The bell on the cafe door rang again. Morgan came in with Eric. They worked together, helping investigators track down the father's last accomplice. Just confirmed, Eric announced. We found the last offshore account. It's over. I looked at the photos scattered on the table. The past. Dad, our mistakes. Is it over? I muttered. Aunt Maeve shook her head. Not his legacy, she corrected gently. Yours. Look what you've done. You have uncovered corruption. You have redeemed yourself. You have begun to heal. This is the real legacy of the family. Alana hesitantly reached out and covered mine. I know I don't deserve to be forgiven. She squeezed my fingers. But I'm trying to earn it. To be someone you can trust again. I looked at her for a long time, then unexpectedly squeezed her hand too. Trust takes time, I said. But the effort itself already means something. Morgan sat down next to her and picked up one of the photos. You know what's funny? He turned the picture to me. No matter what, when you smile, you look alike. I laughed, and a moment later Alana joined in. The laughter was unusual. Rusty, but real. Aunt Maeve looked at the box. The auction house wants a catalog of all the photos. Which ones to leave? I looked at the pictures. Truth and lies. Joy and pain. They all mixed up like dirt on our children's clothes. We'll sort it out together, I said. Let's leave the real moments. Let's get rid of the staged ones. Like a real family. Alana asked quietly. I shook my head. And what about people who are just learning to be a family? Honestly this time. Outside, the autumn wind whirled leaves on the sidewalk, and inside, among coffee and memories. We began to slowly restore not what we had lost, but something new. Something real. Hey, Morgan elbowed me. Look at this. He showed me a photo. Me and Alana at her graduation. We laugh. Real or staged? I looked at our young faces, remembered that day. And she smiled. The real one. I looked at Alana, and for the first time since that wedding I saw in her not our father's daughter, but my sister. It was a long way, but at least now we were walking along it in the light,